Podcasting from beautiful Leesburg, Virginia. Welcome to the Music Educator podcast, bringing you tips, tricks, and practical advice that you can use tomorrow. Here's your host and fellow music educator, Bill Stevens.
Hello, and welcome once again to another episode of the Music Educator podcast. My name is Bill Stevens. I'm your host for today, and in Season 2, Episode 18, we're going to talk about 9 common problems for the flute. Let's get started. Musicians experience inherent instrument challenges. The flute is no exception, and in this podcast, we will identify what barricades musicians from perfecting their musical craft. These common problems include tonguing, air control, fingering, and other mechanical facets of the flute. Let's talk about the common problems. The common problems for flute are all manageable and fixable. Just by knowing what these common problems are, musicians can avoid making costly musical mistakes. Foot and body rods lined up. Firstly, for the flute to play correctly, it must be set up accurately. One major mistake that student musicians make is that the body and the foot joints are lined up. Young musicians sometimes assume that there should be symmetry in the instrument. Have the foot joint rod in alignment with the center of the bottom key on the body of the flute. Aperture is too large. The next common flute mistake is the aperture that is too large. A non-resonant and airy tone results from this, and one common misconception is that many believe that the aperture should be a round hole. Instead, the aperture should be a slit in the center of the lips, which should not be longer than the blowhole. Covering too much of the blowhole. The next common problem involves flute players that cover too much of the blowhole with their lower lip. And by rolling in too far, the sound will be small and it causes the pitch to be flat. As a result, this is due to the position of the right arm. For example, sometimes student musicians rest their arm on the back of a chair or allow the right arm to hang too low. If the flute playing is airy, have the student roll inward to eliminate the unwanted sound. Incorrect holding position. Incorrect holding position is always a concern for music educators. Check the following locations to correct. First, the right arm is sitting on a chair. As a result, this causes the flute to roll out too far and creates a flat, stuffy tone. 2. The right index finger is resting on the rod to stabilize the flute. 3. The student musician starts using 4 points of balance rather than 3. 4. The student slumps in the chair, promoting weak breathing, and the student rolls the flute inward too far. Flute needs adjustment. If the instrument fingering is out of alignment, meaning the rods, keys, and pads don't create a clean seal, then the instrument needs repair. Some adjustments are easy to fix and may need to tighten the screws. Other modifications may require work to be done by a local repair technician. Incorrect tonguing. Sometimes when students learn how to tongue, they misinterpret the Suzuki suggestion of spitting rice. What sometimes occurs is that students will engage in tonguing between the teeth. As a result, the student musician hits the lips with the tongue rather than the roof of the mouth. Soft dynamics going flat. Now, the flutist must learn how to use airspeed effectively. To keep the soft dynamics without going flat, the musician must keep the airspeed up and blow across the blowhole when playing softly. Too much pressure. Watch not to put too much pressure into the lip. Teachers can test if the pressure is appropriate, and the educator should be able to tap the instrument off the lip of the student with little effort. Lips supported by the tongue. Finally, young flutists may support the lip with the tongue. Consequently, this is something that at first may seem helpful, but will reinforce a labored articulation as the musician develops. And some final thoughts. In conclusion, solutions only help improve student musicians if you know what problems exist. Consequently, these common problems can point to the reasons you or your students are struggling with the flute. Above all, take a moment and see if fixes to these issues improve your musical product and satisfaction. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for today. I want to wish you the best of days, good luck with your classes, and have a fabulous week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Music Educator podcast for the latest tips, tricks, and practical advice you can use tomorrow. You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Please visit the Music Educator blog at www.forthemusiceducator.com for additional posts and music education news. As always, join in the discussion and let your voice be heard by providing feedback at www.forthemusiceducator@gmail.com or leave a Google voicemail at 703-942-9883. We will see you on the next episode of the Music Educator podcast, and remember, music can change the world.